You need to keep the microphone close to your mouth. Otherwise, you cannot pick up.
Come right in.
Yeah.
Come right in, please. Okay, everyone. First thing, please turn off your mobile phones. Everybody set on silence. I think what would be good, but let's not demand too much. So, can you guys hear me? I've been told that I'm a very quiet and reserved person, so if you can't hear me, please speak up. Okay? So, good evening. My name is Jasmine. I have the honor of being your facilitator today. Thank you so much for coming for the MaGIC sharing session 2, which focuses on market validation. So the last time we did this was actually December 17. How many of you were there December 17? Oh, that's not bad. We have a decent repeat rate. So I think as a startup, to a startup, our month-on-month repeat rate is quite decent. So we had part 1 on 17 December, and part 1 was very much focused on the culture of the valley. So pretty much, what made Silicon Valley tick, what makes it such an awesome place that has given birth to so many different startups and things that have changed the way we live and work in many places in the world today. Right? So today, before I introduce myself, let me just define a little bit about our topic today as well. So today we'll be focusing very much on market validation. So how many people actually know what market validation means? Yeah. No, you guys don't count. So people, how many actually know what market validation means? Okay, so that's 1 and 2, but the guy actually went for Stanford, so that doesn't count. So it's actually 2 people. Okay, great. So let me just give a 3. Thank you. So we have 3 out of 80. So that's not very high. So it's good. I think we can make a lot of impact today. So essentially, what market validation is, right? The definition actually changes when you look at the different gurus or startups. For example, if you're looking at, say, Eric Ries, who wrote the Lean Startup. If you're looking at Jeffrey Moore, for example, who wrote Crossing the Chasm, the definition changes, slightly. But essentially, so market validation, right? What is a market? A market is usually defined as a group of customers for a certain product that have similar needs and wants, and that reference each other when you buy things. So you can think of, whatever you're selling, for example, think of a group of people who would buy your product, and this group of people must be similar in the sense that they have similar needs, similar wants, and they want to interact with you in the same way perhaps, right? And they will ask each other, for example, when they are making a buying decision, right? So that's essentially market. So what does market validation mean? Market validation is, in essence, let me look down at my notes. Answering the question of, does my target market want to use my product? Do they even need my product? And in a way also, do they want to pay for my product? So it's essentially looking at, say, an idea or a business model, figuring out what are the different elements or the assumption that underpins this model. So for example, if for this model to work, 3 things need to happen. Assumption 1, assumption 2, assumption 3, right? So market validation is the process of actually figuring out whether the assumptions were proven or not proven. Okay, so that's essentially what market validation is. And the end state of market validation would be a product market fit. It's right? I'm not making stuff up, right? So the end result of a market validation phase is a product market fit, where you have a product that your market actually likes. Okay, so here comes the introductions. My name is Jasmine. I'm the founder of a startup called...
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I get very nervous in front of crowds again. So I feel very tough. You haven't laughed at a single joke until now. Okay, so my name is Jasmine. I'm the founder of a startup called recommend.com. Essentially, so it's recom.com. Essentially, it's a TripAdvisor for services. It helps match people to renovation contractors, interior designers, photographers that the community actually recommends. So the community say, yes, these guys are good. So essentially, you come to our website, you tell us exactly what you want, your detailed requirements, and in a few hours, you get some quotes from up to 4 vendors who actually say, yes, I'm available, yes, I want to do your product. I want to give this service to you, I want to deliver your request. this is my business portfolio, this is my contact details, these are the customers I have, and this is what they say of me, what is the rating that they have, and what's the review. Right, so essentially that's what recommended.com is. And on the panel, from left to right, we have chosen from SourceSpace. I think some of you probably read about them either yesterday or today. Was it yesterday or today? Today. Some of you probably read about them today. Very interesting collaboration, which I will let him talk a little bit more about. It's basically a payment system, it's a system that allows merchants and retailers to conduct payments over your mobile phone. And then you have Reza. Reza actually founded Slurp, which actually automates ordering in F&B outlets, right? That's still true, right? Yeah. And I say this because they actually went through a very long process of market validation and actually changed their product quite a fair bit. So they are very happy to share that with you later. And that is Jazz from Use Today. Use Today is basically a platform that allows corporates to sponsor youth events. So if you need, you need to have a large event and you run out of money, for example, Jazz will be the right person to deal with it. And at the end, you actually have Hakim. And if you find it a bit strange because the guy number 4 and the guy number 2 looks a little bit alike, it's not surprising actually. We went to Stanford for like 2 weeks. At the end of it, some people thought they were the same people. So Hakim actually runs this very interesting app that has to do with lobsters and prawns. So I cannot tell you more because it's highly mysterious, and to be honest, I don't quite understand it. But I'll let him introduce it to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this mic on to Chris, to Chusun, so he can, so he can introduce himself. And so everybody spends about 2 minutes introducing themselves. And then what I'm going to do is then run through a series of questions. And then if you have any Q&A, please write them down or type them into your phone, since you're pretty much all techies. At the end of it, just before we end, we will leave some space for questions and answers. Okay?
Hi, my name is Chusun. Anyone heard of SourceSpace before? I don't think so. Okay, so in a nutshell, we allow merchants or anyone to conduct payments over the phone. That's what we do. We have never raised any institutional rounds. It's a startup. Everything we have today is through organic growth. So from a 4-person to a 60-man strong today, we're going to be 3 years old in March. So, yeah, that's what we do.
What's an institutional round?
Means that from our initial funding from an angel investor, we have not taken any investment out of the company. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm Reza, and I founded the relocating to be the only week choice that makes sense. But we started it about early last year. We had our first customer February last year, so that was about a year.
8 minutes, so far you guys only like 27 seconds.
Hi, I'm Jazz. I'm the founder of newstoday.com. So basically, we started the online platform on 2013. But we've been running this on-ground event, helping young people to develop since 7 years ago. So we've been running the youth project since 7 years ago. And currently we are growing from our angels. We're going to raise our first Series A already. It's a growing platform, and basically we're also considering to move over not move over, but also raise our round in America once we establish our Southeast Asia connection. Yeah.
Nearer to the mic.
My voice is okay. Hi everyone, my name is Hakim. I've been involved in startups for the last 7 years. 30 this year, so that means since I was 23 lah. I've done startups that have failed miserably. I have done startups that have failed well. I've run startups that are currently still operational. And now I'm kind of sort of focusing on one thing that I'm spending a lot of my time on. It's called Black Elephant Labs. And what we do is we build technology for aquaculture farmers. This is farmers that whatever they do is on the water. You can think shrimp farmers, prawn farmers, shrimp and prawn same thing, lobster farmers, kingfish farmers, the list goes on, but they do it in the middle of the ocean and they do it in ponds on land. What we do is we help them monitor what's going on in the farm, the data we collect, and then we help them make money based on the data we've analyzed. It's really something that I am only just exploring. So this whole build stuff for a new market is the angle that if you guys have questions, I'd love to try and address.
Essentially, for all four of you, you have been operating for 1 year, at least a year, right? And some of you 3 years and he 7 years. So to a certain degree, you have all gone through the market validation phase, and right now you have a product which you can say, okay lah, somebody wants to buy this stuff, right? Okay, so confirm. Okay, so maybe you could, share for each of you, when you first started out, you probably need to think a little while back. When you first started out, how did you first figure out, who was your initial market, or the people who you think would initially buy your product? How do you define that, and then how do you figure out what kind of validation do you need to do?
How many of you actually know our story? Because a lot of people tell us that we've been, telling the same story and somebody gets really. Okay, how the company started is that because of my dad, to cut a long story short, he wasn't able to get a credit card machine from the bank for the longest time. So he relies on the salesman to collect cash on a daily basis. So one day, I went home for dinner. I saw this very sad look on my dad's face. It's the same look that he gave me more than 15 years ago when I skipped classes and he was always still bail me out. Same exact look. So I asked him, why? He said one of our salesmen ran away with a lot of money, right? I think $20,000, $30,000 cash, and it affected his business really, really bad. Now, that triggered me to think about there must be something we can do, right, to address people like my father. So I thought of building something that I can actually allow people like my dad to be able to accept electronic payments on his phone, but something that will get the bank to look at people like my dad. In the past, I said, no, you're not my kind of customers, but yeah, now I want to do business with you. So that time, oblivious to companies like Square or all this, right? I have no idea they existed, no idea. So I tried to build something on my own, and later on to find out that companies like this exist. So that's where I believe that, okay, this thing works in US. Not really sure it's really going to work in Asia, because payment markets in Asia is highly fragmented, yet tightly regulated. So anything you want to do, you got to get central bank's approval. So what I did was actually I floated the idea to a major investor, right? I think within 2 hours, he basically wrote me my check, 2 million ringgit, and I used it to start the company. So when we started the company, we started to appear in media and papers and stuff like that. So when the market saw that we appeared, they thought that we are a company that can actually directly provide this to them. We are not. We actually have to go through banks, so we are B2B2C kind of company. The good thing is that because of that misconception, in the initial stage when we first started, on a daily basis, I received at least 100 emails from merchants. 100 emails from merchants on a daily basis, from Penang, Johor, everywhere they go. Some of them even drove to our office and said, I want this. At that moment, I know exactly, I think we have a winner there. So obviously, as we engage more, we talk to merchants, engage more, we found that there's actually a huge gap that we need to fill in. Right? A huge gap where SMEs, small companies and people, companies with mobile sales force that have longest time getting problem accepting payments. We know that. So what I did was actually I get all of them to write me a letter saying that they want this. I compiled all of them. I went to the bank one by one. I showed it to them. Say, look, we have all these fellas, banging on our door, wanting to use this. Can we work something out? And yeah, so we got our first bank. Today we have about 13 banks using our solution, all across Southeast Asia. So yeah, that's one of the way that we know that there's a market for this because of the reaction we get directly from the users that are really going to use this.
So essentially, before you even build the product or you even have something that you could sell, you already showed them an idea or a picture and they say, yes, we want this, so I'm going to drive to you and
Exactly. Obviously, I have companies like Square, and be really frank, a lot of people like to call us Square of Asia, but I prefer to be known as Southspace. Because we have very different technology and model, but well, it helps anyway, right? So yes, the answer, very simple answer, yes. When we ask them, do you think that people like something? Immediately they say, where do I sign? So we know. On the spot, we have a winner. We have a winner here. The challenge is actually how do we get the banks to buy in and actually believe in what we do. As a startup, trying to break into the financial industry is really challenging. Banks, they will look at your paid up capital, they will look at your past experience, whether you have credit limit, if you have none. Very unlikely that the bank's really going to sign you, because the first question they're going to ask is that, what if we use your solution and we go bust? It's a legit question, right? Yeah. So in the first year, when we were building the technology, I tried to sell to all 10 local banks in Malaysia, 6 foreign banks. None of them believed in what we do. None. Zero. As a matter of fact, there was one bank, I don't want to name them, 5 minutes into the presentation, they kicked me out of the meeting room. Literally, yes. And I remember that day, there was a fire drill, so I had to walk 36 floors down that building. But, well, that's past. And so now looking back, we have quite a bit of market share. I'm happy to see that merchants are actually using it. We get fan letters, from merchants saying thank you very much. Now that finally get to do this, I'm there. So yeah, that's how we were able to validate that hey, that's a real need. You know it when your direct customers come and tell you that you want it right here, right now. Banging your door. In the initial stage, we don't even put our telephone number on the website because just the inquiry emails is crazy. So can you imagine if you put a telephone number on the website, just call? So yeah.
Yes, I learned that the hard way actually, putting my phone number on the website.
Don't ever do that.
I can tell you, maybe not here, but I can tell you about the calls that I've been getting all throughout the day. Anyway, sorry. How about yourself? How did you validate?
We started, although we seriously started development of still January last year, we started with an explainer video in September 2013 because there was an award that we wanted to win, and whatever product we had in our stable was pretty crappy out. So we thought that, what if we do this? So what we did was we built an explainer video for that. And then we presented it to some guys and they liked it a lot. So we thought that all these investors and judges and whatever likes it, and they gave us some awards for it. And then because of that, we started developing stuff, and then by January we had something ready. So when we had something ready, we went to our customers, right? I think the bankers, investors, everyone likes it. I said, it's cool. We solved a pain point. What I wanted to do was, you could go to a store, you open up your phone, order, you don't have to do the, hey, matcha, come here. You can start doing that. So you can just order through your phone, and then whatever you order through your phone goes to the kitchen, prints the order sheet, all that, and then if you want to get out of the restaurant, you just click on the app, you press bill, and done. And then we showed it to tons of restaurants in town, right? And their feedback was, this is cool, but I don't think we're going to use it. So this is our actual problem. So they started saying that this is what we need. We don't need this, but eventually if you give us this, we might use your system. So when we first started, we started in January, and then in February we signed our first client, and then we had that single client until June. And we were quite, we don't want to change our direction. We think that this is the way to go. You can have an Uber experience in the restaurant. So we really tried to push through that. But eventually we decided that, because no one's buying it, this is a waste of money. So we decided to start to listen to our customer feedbacks and build whatever problem they have. We address their pain points. And that is when we started to have about 5 clients, and then eventually we started to have 15, and now monthly we're signing about 15 clients a month.
So your initial assumption was that they needed a system or some kind of help to help with customer ordering and checkout. So what was their actual problem?
They need a point of sale. They want a cooler point of sale. And we didn't want to be in a POS business because they were like over 40 different players in Malaysia. There were tons of players. So we didn't want to get into the business. But eventually we said that, please just do this. This is what we need. So we ended up building a point of sale. But eventually, after building the point of sale system, now we could go back to the client and say that, hey, would you want this feature in your point of sale? And then it's an easier buying business. Yeah, so that's how we were able to go back to what we wanted to do. But for me, sometimes the cool tech idea doesn't matter because you need to pay the bills eventually, right? So when we ran out of money, that's why we decided that, okay, this is what you need, so just build this for you.
Interestingly, then based on your experience, was it necessary for you to just establish a hypothesis, say, okay, I think that this is their problem, and then you build something around that, and then you go and meet them? Because if you didn't have anything, it might have been harder to explain to them what you were talking about.
Yeah, for us, we are a tech shop, right? So whatever, I've been running an app development studio the last 6 years, so whatever tech I want, I can build that, right? It's like zero cost to us. But for a lot of people, that's not recommended. Because when you come to an app developer, those guys are quite expensive. So, but for us, we had the advantage of just building it and validate later. But for a lot of that, but then we actually tried to validate early on. We built explainer videos which a lot of people liked, but those who like our explainer video are not our customers. So it doesn't matter.
So it's actually very important how you validate as well, right? Because the people who show a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning might not be the same bunch of people who would eventually take something out of the pocket to pay you. So that's very interesting. How about you, Jess? How did you validate use today? Was it always youth, or was it initially focused on old folks, or like?
Basically, it's youth all the while. So I still remember when I started. I started my business when I was in college. So why I started this business because I realized because I was really active in school. I was run a lot of events as a student council member, and I joined a lot of clubs. And when it comes to sponsorship, it was a very big major problem. And I realized that this problem was not only faced by me, but every student that goes to university. I think if you're in university, you're compulsory to run events, or you're in clubs in society, and all these events, when it comes to sponsorship, a lot of students, they call centers, they make hundreds of phone calls, and then when it comes to meeting clients, they don't know how to basically sell the sponsorship and stuff like that. So as a student point of view, when I first started out, I realized that this was a major problem. But in terms of like building my business, it actually pivoted a couple of times. I actually pivoted like almost 4 times. But the concept was around young people and brands. But I didn't know how to nail it when I first started off. So when I first started, I got full scholarship, but I actually used my PPN loan to start as a business model. So it's crazy. But when I first started off, basically it burned a lot of money, I would say. But when I first started, I used like my blog or WordPress, to actually engage, like how do I actually engage brands with youth. So brands always, when I meet sponsors and so forth, they always they mention that the problem is that when they want to engage youth, they actually don't. They always ask me a question like, what does the youth trends are, interests and so forth. So I saw that this is actually a major problem with brands, and this is actually a problem with youth. So how can I actually build a platform onto that? So it takes me 2 or 3 times actually running events on ground. So it wasn't sustainable in terms of like my revenue was always at 100,000 or 200,000. That's all. I'm always in that chasm. I couldn't cross that. So for 2-3 years, I've been doing the same thing, like just events, trying to link brands and youth until I decided to actually convert everything online. Building a platform for you, because I realized that I actually validated the market in terms of like the youth wants this and the brands want this, so where's the platform? So we did manually connecting the brands and youth until we decided to build an online platform. So things started to change there, and basically we kind of shot up from there.
So you spent actually 2 years, did you say, running things just to understand the business before you automated with a platform?
Yes, correct. So yeah.
Yeah, I think your platform is quite unique in the sense because it's a marketplace, right? So you have the students on one side and you need them to use the system, otherwise it's worthless. On the other hand, you have the corporates who are your real customers because they're giving you money. So when you needed to do the validation, did you validate one side first and then the other? Or did you only validate with the people who would pay you for it? How did you see that?
That's an interesting question. Because for our business, it's really a chicken and egg. Because you need the youth to attract the brands, you need the brands to actually attract the youth. But slowly after I validated it, I realized that actually currently our whole marketing strategy we changed. We no longer actually target the youth, we actually target the brands. So it's all out on brands. So what we actually go to the brand right now is we tell them that we are actually a sponsorship tracking tool. So every time a university comes to you, you get them to actually upload the event on newstoday.com so that we have all our analytic tools to actually see their total participants and actually can track it to them. So this is actually how we slowly pivoted and actually changed from there.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, how about you and your lobsters? How did you validate them?
Super interesting sharing. Just kind of give perspective of where I'm coming from. So you got solve other people's problems, you've got see an opportunity to win some prizes, you've got solve your own problem. For me, it was I saw an opportunity. I like to talk a lot, and when I go and talk to people, I learn a little bit about them because it's boring to just talk. It's really interesting to listen to. Rarely happens. So one fateful conversation revolved around this challenge that a friend of mine had. The friend spent like 20 years in the World Bank and now he's back, kind of doing his thing in Malaysia, and he runs a lobster farm. It's like, you know what? I have no idea what's going on my farm. And I'm like, okay, talk, and could you build this piece of technology for us? Something to help us see what's going on the farm, like literally. Let me show me how many lobsters I have at one given time. How many are ready to be harvested? And that was kind of weird for first conversation. It was like, I don't know anything about lobsters, but I'm curious to find out what I could do with this. So, and I remember this very vividly, okay? We went to Mama, I think it was Shawan in Bangsa. I whipped out my laptop and I set up a few Google Forms. And this is like live, okay, this is happening. I'm listening to talk, I'm setting up some Google Forms, and I'm like, do you want this? Because Google Forms are optimized for mobile, right? Do you want this so I can track? Somebody can manually enter, like one lobster dead in this cage, one lobster alive in that cage, so whatever they want to track, right? And it's like, interesting, but how can I see what's going on? So I jump back to the Google spreadsheet that automatically is generated from this form, and I do something really smart because I know this guy is from the World Bank, right? I'm like, I don't think he just wants to see Excel data, he wants to see like graphs and stuff, right? So I just pop up a bunch of Google spreadsheet visualized data. They have lots of like pie charts and graphs and bars. Is this what you want to see? I was like, this is exactly what I want to see. I was like, I literally saw the thing, validated the thing, at the same Mama session, using Google Forms. No joke. So use whatever you can to get whatever you need is, I think, the lesson here. I'm not saying that every solution can be solved with Google Forms, but I think you should think about the lowest common denominator. So what I had on me at the time was, in fact, my laptop. So I figured, how can I show him? How can I communicate this with him in a way that we're both comfortable with? And that was Google Forms. But what I realized very quickly moving from there is sometimes you get the wrong customer. You're in the right industry, generally speaking, but you're talking to the wrong customer. Because the problem that he faced, he owns this, or he works on a very high level of the farm. The farm is owned by a Fortune 500 company, and that means there are a lot of top-level management. So there are some that are in Malaysia, there are some that are in Australia, there are some that are in Taiwan, some that are in Orlando, and for them, it is a problem to see what's going on, to get a line of sight on what's going on in the farm. When I actually went to farmers, this was a few weeks later, I found that their challenges are totally different. So while I was selling to him, he was paying my bills. The people are actually using the data collection tool, people are actually using the data immediately on a day-to-day basis, their needs were totally different. So I did that process again. This time with something a little bit more advanced than Google Forms, I sketched it for them. So, is this a better user experience for you? Is this a better tool for you to capture data? And we went through a few iterations of that. Now for me it was really fun because I get to go to Sempurna every time this happens. But the lesson that I learned from this thing is know that sometimes you are selling to multiple people, yeah? And when you want to validate, you can't just have one size fits all of a solution, even within the same organization. And let me not even talk about different types of farmers. So now we sell to lobster farmers, and when we started selling to shrimp farmers, that's a whole different kind of worms. You would assume that it's the same thing, right? But I get into that in more detail later, but just so you understand, that's how I validated. I went to talk to one specific user about one specific problem and give them one specific solution. And I did this as many times as was required. Because you kind of just know, right, when people get your solution. For the guys in soft space, it was like those emails that came in. For you guys, it was sales. It was, I guess, brands going, I understand what you're doing and I want to get involved. For us, it was usage. When people, our farmers started using this thing and the top level management started using the data, we're at a point that we're talking the same language here. And the moment that happens, we can kind of do more stuff. But until and unless, we don't want to spend tons and tons of money coming up with tons and tons of expensive, different technology solutions that may not even be used.
Thank you. Yeah, you do like to talk, but the good thing is you talk very well. So I didn't have to press the silent button.
Okay, let's throw something.
Just for you. Well, I guess the thing that I'm getting from all four of your sharing is that you do need to get the product out there and fairly quickly, because we always run into this. We run the assumption that people are all like us. So everybody's all like me, so therefore, if I like it, therefore people should like it, right? What is there not to like? But I think what we also realize, right, is that not everyone's like us. We don't know why, but there are some people who are different to us and might have different expectations, different preferences even. We don't think that it's cool, but they are paying for it. So essentially what is important is to get what we call, I think this mic doesn't like me. You think this mic like me? Hello? No, I think it's just me. So essentially, what needed to focus on? Off. Essentially, what we needed to.
No problem.
Hey, is this mic validated? Hello? No, it's not. Okay, so essentially, what we needed to do is get a product out there. With whatever our assumptions were, either it's a sketch or some sort of very early form of product if you run a software house, or even an idea, right? So that you can start testing them and to say that, hey, if I had something like this, would you use this? And you'd be surprised that even at a very early stage, I mean, our first market validation was literally drawn on pieces of tissue but even with something like that, you can look at the guy's response. I mean, people find it very hard to tell you, no, this sucks. But you can tell by their immediate response and the pause that they have before they say, yeah, it's not bad, yeah, whether or not they like the product, right? So that would be the first one. And then when you do that, right, and I guess this is the lesson, try to establish what are the assumptions that you're testing as well. Say if you're testing whether this guy will actually use it more than 5 times a day, then you need to, shape, for example, what we call the MVP, the minimum viable product. You need to shape it such that it really does test that, right? So if, for example, your assumption is that, will people even like to use their mobile phones to conduct, credit card payments? If you, for example, choose a bunch of people who, are not credit worthy, right? Are unable to get credit cards, for example, then it might be a little bit hard for you to test that.
The challenge is actually
it's not working either. It's not just me.
well, the challenge is actually not worthy at all. It's the confidence of the market. 3 years ago, if I were to tell you you had to flip out your card, slide it somebody else's phone, you're probably gonna like freak out, like, oh, what's going on?
You mean when Malaysia was the cloning expert of the world?
Yes, incidentally, do you know, 10 years ago, we were number one in fraud in Malaysia. It was so bad. Actually, I'm a foreign traveler. If I come to Malaysia, we were using MaGIC instead of the trip card. I swipe my card, I go back to my home country, next day the bank's going to send me a new card, ask me to cut the old one after I return from Malaysia. It is that bad. So our central bank just couldn't take it anymore. It forced all the banks overnight to switch over to electronic chip cards, right? Call it EMV Center, Europay, Master, and Visa. That's it. Overnight, we reported a 90% decline in fraud, and our neighboring country, Indonesia, overtook us. Yeah, exactly. So, back to what you were saying, that's why we also realized that you cannot just tell the public that, yes, merchants say, great, I can use my phone, I don't have to have a telephone line, and I don't have to pay monthly rental, invest $3,000. But there's another challenge that you will face. How does consumer, how do you ensure that they feel safe when instead of when they flip out the card, just taking the credit card machine they're so used to and putting into the phone? That's why we realized that you got to work this together with the bank. When this service is launched by the bank, a financial institution that's recognized by the policymakers that, hey, this is actually launched by a bank, it's safe, then the confidence level goes up. We never thought of that when we first came out in the market. So yes, the direct users, hey, yeah, they all love it. But then we totally forgotten that, what about the card holders, people like you and me, right? I never even asked myself, actually, you know what, in the beginning, if somebody asked me to put my credit card in their phone, I also don't feel like doing it. Even though the technology probably more coming from me, right? Because how do I make sure that you're not copying my card data, doing something funny? So that was something that we basically had to learn it the hard way. It's not all rosy, by the way. You think that we were just able to get a bank pass and launch it? No, it wasn't that. The banks, our direct clients are always the banks because we cannot get merchants directly, so it's a B2B2C. They pour so much cold water and criticism on us. Literally, they were trying to discourage me not to do this. They were trying to ask me not to waste their time. Yes, but we press on because knowing that your end customers, the merchants, demanding for it, we said, okay, I'm going to try to do this, even though we're going to finish out all our investors' money. I know it's very bad thing to say, right? Your investors are kill you, but that's what literally I told my investor. I said, look, I'm going to try this or die trying, so are you in or out? Yeah, okay. So he took a gamble with us. So yes, because of the services launched right from the bank, then cardholders are actually a lot more comfortable. That's how the thing took off. Or else, I think, end up we just have a bunch of happy merchants holding the thing, running around, but nobody's going to use it actually. Yeah.
Essentially, the assumption that you needed to validate was, would people even stick their credit card into some uncle's phone? Right.
Exactly.
Essentially, that was one of the assumptions.
So we realized that communication, education was extremely important. Not coming from a company like us. I mean, we can say our technology is the best. Nobody's going to believe us. Yes, you have get master visa certification stuff, but having it coming from a bank, and the bank is actually going to back the transaction. If there's a fraud, they're going to underwrite it. Then yes, people will be a lot more comfortable using it.
And that would have been a lot more useful at the beginning of your journey rather than after 2 years and you're
exactly.
struggling.
Of course, we found out in the very initial beginning because the banks are very risk averse. So they will just straight away challenge you and don't make it past them, they won't involve. So we were lucky because we were actually confronted with issues like this way before the product was even launched. Yeah, but I think not many startups are as lucky as this. Sometimes you learn it the hard way. So you definitely don't want to do that.
So I think that's very interesting. So that's the point about identifying assumptions that will just break the entire thing and test it up front. Even though sometimes it's very painful for you to hear the answer, but test it up front because then you know how to pivot or you know how to change your model quickly.
Do that because all this while, I always thought sign up is actually king. In our website, basically we got around 23,000 users up to date. And I always thought this number are like amazing, 23,000. Every time I go to a brand, I say 23,000 young people with us. But I realized that sign-ups are not everything. Especially when I went to one of the programs where I met up with this founder. He's the founder of Decide.com. He sold Decide.com to eBay for $8 million. And what he did was he actually built close to 60 products, and all those products fit. And when one of the products actually he made successfully sold to eBay was actually a product where he can actually predict the price change in the market before you actually purchase the product. So eBay actually bought it from him. So what he actually learned, the key lesson that he shared with me, it is really a life-changing experience for me, meeting him, honestly I'd say. He actually explained he didn't use his product as an example, but he used Tinder. You guys know Tinder, right? It's like a
Come on, you guys know Tinder, right?
It's like a dating app, okay?
Don't bluff. What, trying to look innocent, huh?
Yeah. So what he said about this was it's really interesting. He said that Tinder every time it's all about the key metrics. The key matrix, how many people actually download Tinder? That's the first key matrix. Okay? The second matrix is how many people actually download your app and actually use it to swipe. That's the second key matrix. How many people actually download your app, swipe it, and actually have a match? That's the third matrix. And how many actually download, swipe, match, and have a conversation? That's the fourth matrix. And actually, how many actually did all those 4 steps and actually returned to use Tinder? That is your key matrix, returning users. So that was the 5 key lessons that I learned instantly from him. That I always thought that, oh, sign up, I stopped there. Which is why our user base, we actually grow pretty slow for the past few years. We've been doing this for 2 years now, it's still at 23,000. But whereas in US, it's about creating a really good product, understanding your customers, the user behavior and so forth, then boom, they get millions of users instantly. Rather than us growing for 2 years and we're still a couple of thousands. So this was something that I really learned. I came back, sat with the team, and we really brainstormed on everything. We did our design thinking. We went down on ground, we asked people on the feedback on how our website, why you're not coming back, or why you came back and so forth. We gathered all the information from almost 100 of the ambassadors, students, and even the clients. So this was actually, we actually figured out, that's why we stripped off. If you look at our layout right now, I think it's a big change for us. So yeah, that's the key thing I learned in eStandford.
So the founder of Decide.com was actually Su Ken Hui, right?
Yes, correct.
And he's actually Malaysian.
He's a Malaysian.
Oh,
Really big guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you guys, how many guys do you heard of Apple Pay? Yeah, I'm sure everyone knows Apple Pay, right? Okay, I'm not trying to sell, promote a company. We actually have an answer to Apple Pay. Just pay close attention to banks. But no, that's not the point. You guys know the guy that worked in JP Morgan that backed Apple on the payment processing, and he designed Apple Pay for Apple. He's a Malaysian. His name is Arvin Arugan. He's a Malaysian.
Malaysia boleh.
Do you know chief architect of Yahoo Search, who reports to Marissa Mayer, number 4 employee in Yahoo? It's a Malaysian as well. Yeah, so there are a lot of great Malaysians out there doing great work that I wouldn't have gotten to know them. It's not because of MaGIC, who took us and immersed. They had a very crash course into the Silicon Valley, the whole ecosystem, and we were really connected to all these great people. Yes, Sukan is also Malaysian. Try to read a little bit more about successful Malaysians who made it in the Valley. There's quite a fair bit, right? And we also met a lot of, quite a number of students studying at Stanford full time. Brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any stories from the rest of you on how your learnings in Stanford has changed the way you see market validation or has changed your app in some way?
The main thing that I've learned is there's always a book to a problem.
A book.
A book. Basically, one of the guys we had to spend with Jack, one of the guys. And then he would say that, oh, you had this problem, try and read this book. You would always prescribe a book to a problem, right? So I ended up buying like tons of books off Amazon because he would just say, oh, you have this problem, please buy this book. So that's how he addresses the problem. But it's like,
The book reseller.
he's a book reseller, but it's quite cool because what's cool about the faculty in Stanford is they are able to slice any problem in the business. Let's say one of the guys who will be a dry ice business for a plane engine. He could look at the business, could slice it, could identify the competitor, and could say whatever key metrics that guy has to focus on. And then we look at my business and say that, oh, this is similar to this business in China and Korea. This is what you have to do. This is a book you might want to read, things like that. So what's interesting is they could always they have a way of thinking. I mean, which is if there is a problem, this is a framework you use to solve it. So I think that was quite useful. And to get to that point, what you have to do is just to read a lot of books. So because of the queue, I started reading it.
No, maybe what you could do as well, and it would definitely benefit me, is maybe you could list down the books that he asked you to read for each of those problems.
Yeah,
and then you could even share them on the, on the invite or on the MaGIC, website.
I'll share those over.
Yeah. Okay. How about Hakim?
I'm going to build up on the frameworks as a standard thing that you see in Stanford. It was really interesting how they think, I think. It's all pretty much, it looked to me like a step process. Always getting to the next step, not anything more than that. So how do I raise my next round of funding? What do I need to do specifically in order to do that? And once I'm there, then I think about it again. What do I need to do to raise the yet next round of funding? And it's very formatted. And that's really cool because if you can trust the format, then everything else falls into place very easily. So when they speak to you, for example, and they ask you to pitch your startups, and some people that are all over the place, so their startups. They give you what they call a gate 1 presentation. So this is like the first round of presentations that you need to prepare in order to start speaking in an intelligent fashion to anybody, be it investors or other potential founders that you want to bring in, to communicate this idea in a meaningful way. And that was one of the things that I kind of brought back and I've applied to the way we communicate our particular product. I think it's very, very exciting to be surrounded by really, really smart people also, because like literally everyone that we met, and we met like 50 over people easily in Stanford alone, they all just had a wealth of experience. Whenever they were introduced to us, it was like, all right, I'm on to my 3rd PhD and my 4th startup. I'm a board of director on 12 different companies. So it's ridiculous, man. It's like, whoa, dude. Now, how do I even start picking their brain, right? So the good thing, I suppose, on the flip side, despite all of this success and despite all of this knowledge, everyone, like Banan, everyone that was there was so willing to share. So much so that I think Jess picked up 2 mentors. Like, she didn't bring them back, but she asked, and they became her advisor, mentors. So yeah, one important thing to learn when you guys go to SF, ask intelligent questions. Because you don't know what you're asking, right? It's like, I don't know what I want, can you help me? You're going to get ignored. If you know specifically what you want, you're going to get help.
Yeah, thank you so much. But do you also get the sense that, the ideas and things like that works in the Valley? Or maybe certain, a culture that works in the Valley doesn't quite work in Malaysia. So in a sense, what I'm trying to say is, sometimes we take ideas in the Valley and we say, yeah, this works in the US, surely that will work in Malaysia, right? And that assumption often kills us because surprisingly, Americans are very different from us, right? We live in very dense cities and all that, and a lot of times in America, it's basically a different place. So, do you guys have any thoughts around how to localize, learnings that you've learned in Stanford, for example? And what do we pick from, for example, LinkedIn or Google or Twitter? What do we pick from them? And what do we say, yeah, that's very interesting, but we need to figure out whether this works for us?
I am going to throw one in. So you guys have all heard of Waze, right? So everybody in the world probably has heard of Waze. Google buys Waze and bought Waze. And their strategy, Waze comes from Israel, if I'm not mistaken. And their strategy for a lot of the Israeli startups is don't sell in the country. There's no point, don't even focus on it. Sell to the whole world. So they have this whole thing down pat when you talk about geographically different and homogeneous, non-homogeneous markets. They are built to sell to world at large. And then only they move to Silicon Valley, and then only they get acquired by companies in the Valley. So one thing that I learned, I suppose, as far as the understanding localization is concerned, if you want to build for an audience like SF, be an SF. But if you're outside of SF, try and think about how you can kind of capitalize on your local markets, be very successful like our friend over here, and then get acquired by a company that's that.
Okay, that's very interesting as well. I guess sharing a personal example, we were actually modeled after Thumbtack. So Thumbtack also works by getting all these service professionals to reply back to you. So you say, I'm trying to build a bookshelf, this is how high is it, this is the kind of wood I want, blah, blah, blah. Can you guys do it for me, right? And so the typical response in the US would be, yes, hello, good evening, I am Bob, I've been, building cupboards since I was 17 years old, and I would love to do your thing, and I'm passionate about cupboards and stuff like that. And the typical response from the one in Malaysia would be, yes. That's it. That's it. He said, so we'll send him a detailed requirement and say, can you do all this, can you write a comment? And he will say, yes. So what do? You have to call him, right? And say, uncle, can you give me slightly more detail? That sort of thing. So when something like that happens, when you have a local sort of like problem or something that's specific, you then have to adapt your business model to that specific thing. You either teach the uncle to be able to quote better, or you need to change your business model such that maybe you allow different tick boxes and say, yes, I can do this, no, I cannot do that, or whatever, and allow him to tick rather than asking him to type with his finger. So those are the things that we need to do. Okay, so we don't have much time yet. I want to leave some time as well for questions. So we've got an option, guys. So we can either do one of two things. Okay, we only have time for one. We can either ask these guys if you needed to give advice to. Actually, it's a good point. Actually, how many of you are startups or are thinking of starting up your own business? Wow, it's most great. How many of you are investors and want to look for someone intelligent to invest in? 10. And how many of you just heard of the free food from my burger lab and wanted to come and try them?
Burger lab.
Okay, great. So we can either do two things, right? We can ask this bunch to give you some advice. What would they advise for someone who is venturing out? Or we could do one exercise. So somebody, a brave person in the audience, stand up, talk about your problem and what your assumptions are maybe, and then we get these guys to give you what they think you could do in order to validate your assumptions and basically go through your market validation process. What do you guys prefer? So number one, we just ask these guys to give advice, and you already know now that they can talk. Secondly, somebody brave, bring up your idea, and then we'll get advice from these guys on how you should do your market validation. Second, okay.
B.
So I realized that this is the market specific thing. I expected everybody to shout out their options, but no. It has to be done in the poll way. How many people want option 1? Raise your hands. Okay, how many people want option 2? Raise your hands. Okay, great. Then I don't have to apply my maths. I go maths. Okay, great. So, do we have a brave person in the audience with an idea or something you're about to embark on or something you've already started and you're wondering how do you actually validate your market? Maybe you guys can just stand up bravely and just tell your story. Oh, hey. Hello. Is it doyouwhat.com? Doyoushoe.com. Okay. Who would like shoes?
So we all. Hi, good evening. My name is Ali. I'm the founder of doyoushoe.com. So basically, we're trying to actually design, manufacture, and sell trendy modular detachable footwear. So basically, what the footwear does is we can actually detach the upper part and the outsole. So in terms of if the outsole gets wear and tear or gets broken, then you can go to our online shop or our retail shop, and you can just switch the parts that's broken. So you'll never have to buy a pair of shoes ever again. You can buy shoes in parts. So that's what our initiative is.
Oh, that's very interesting. Are you embarking on it? Do you already have a product in the market, or is it just on an idea phase, or still R&D?
We have a prototype ready. So we're aiming to launch this year June. So actually what we have done now, we started an online shoe design competition, of which we're targeting about 10 university students to actually compete in this shoe design competition, and those who win it will get royalty from the designs that will be sold on our products.
Oh, that's so interesting. Can you do it for women's shoes as well?
Yeah, in the future we're intending to actually use detachable high heels, because we did some validation for women, and the issue with women, they love high heels, but they have a hard time wearing them all day long, and it's a bit for them to wear it when they are driving. So we had a validation, and we are aiming to actually do detachable high heels as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So what is the, so should we ask him his assumptions? What are you assuming, or should we guess? Yeah. So okay. So for the men's shoes, let's focus on the men's shoes. What are your assumptions? Who are your target market?
Well,
what is your question?
Initially, just to let the panelists know that we've actually pivoted quite a bit on our product, because initially what we wanted to do was we wanted to target secondary, primary school students, because their pain is they have to wear either white or black school shoes. And for those who wear white school shoes, they get dirty all the time, and the only option for them is to either put it in a bucket to let it soak, or use the white, the white polish to actually make it white. So what we intend to do was initially to make a product, a school shoe, that they can detach the upper and machine wash it, and it's easier for them to actually have a couple of pairs of uppers with just one outsole. But what we found out was, when we did pre-validation, the pricing was difficult for us to compete with those school shoes that all day around, especially those in my age. For $9.90 you can have a pair of school shoes. So we are targeting about $49.90. So what we did was we pivoted. We went to university students and asked them what they wanted to know and what they wanted to do with the shoes. And most of them are from designer market, university students. And what they do is, what's trending now that we found out is that they like to design on top of shoes. Vans did this early on with shoe design competition, and we thought because our top upper could be flattened, you can actually print out your design and then iron it on, and then it becomes automatically a new design without you, putting effort into designing. So my question was for the panelists was, do you think that this idea would actually be suited to actually university students, because our concern is still the price point. What we're trying to do is we're trying to price the product, a pair of our shoes at $79.90 to $150, because we're trying to compete with Talks. In terms of our assumption was university student has money to actually buy this type of shoes, this standard type of shoes. So what are the advice from the panelists?
Okay, so in order to buy time, so you guys can answer, right? Okay, great. So in order to sort of summarize the kind of 2-3 assumptions that you're dealing with is, number one, would people even want to design their own shoes? Right? Number two, would they even want to replace their heels? Because I know, and girls especially, right, we don't want to replace our heels, we want to buy new one. That's the fact lah. I know my husband would love it if I could just replace the heels and then use the rest of it, but I don't really want that. And then what was the thing? At the price point, would they want to replace the sole, or would they just want to buy a new one? So that's the 3 sort of like questions that you need to validate.
Because of the value proposition that we offer, would they buy on that particular price?
Okay, that's interesting. So you guys have.
Okay, so I got 3 things I'm going to go through really quickly. I feel that there's a mismatch between the problem you're trying to solve and the solution that you're kind of getting people to design their shoes. It's like a mismatch of functional, you're going for extremely functional kind of shoes, and this sort of like designed, instead of need, there's need here, and there's want that you're going for. So I feel that there's a mismatch there. What really kind of popped into my brain when I was hearing you talk about this was the repeatedness of your sale, where you could sell the shoe and continue to sell the products that go around the shoe, right? There is a business model around it. It's called the bait. No, it's not bait and switch. It's the I cannot remember the name, but it's the same model that Gillette and the shaving blades use. It's hook something. Line and hook, that's it. So they sell you a shaver cheap. Sometimes they even give it away, and they sell you the blades in an ongoing fashion. If you ever seen Dollar Shave Club, they take this model to the extreme. They give you the blade, the shaving blade, the shaving handle thingy for free, and you buy blades at $1 a month forever. It's Dollar Shave Club. Check it out. It's really good, interesting model. So that's the first thing. I feel there's a mismatch. The second thing, I think you may not have seen this yet, or you may have, but your big thing that you need to validate is your channels. Because it immediately popped into my head. If you want to sell people a shoe that means that they don't have to buy more shoes, the shoe shops are going to not like you very much, at the very least. So using the shoe shops as a distribution channel might be actually counterintuitive. It is a shoe, but it's probably not a shoe you want to sell out of a shoe shop. Instead, how would online distribution work for you? Validate that really, really quickly. And the last thing that I was thinking about is figure out who your market is. You were talking about students, and then you were talking about university students. But the answer is you don't know, right? And we're not shoe experts. So we don't have the answer, but we have the path to an answer. And the path to an answer should be take the same marketing message and sell to different audiences and see how they react. Based on their reaction, you know who you should talk to. Based on the hottest reaction, if you will, that's how you find the answer.
For me, I mean, what you have to look at is you have to look back at the whole ecosystem, right? The shoe ecosystem. Where do you want to be, and can you be dominant in that field, and what's the market size of that field? So let's say the shoe market is what, a $10 billion industry, maybe 100 billion, and then the customized shoe segment is only worth 1% of that, $1 billion, and then you are going to capture 1% of $1 billion, and which specific target market are you going to target? So you really have to drill down, like what Hakim said, your intended target market. So that's my only message. You have to identify where you can be really, really dominant, and you have to figure out where you can really acquire this user to test your products.
Okay, maybe Kickstarter is a good platform if you want to, deal with VCs and investors. Not everyone is nice.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Kickstarter is one. I guess the other thing you could do as well, you mentioned some kind of introductory video, right? I mean, for a few thousand, you can even, if you even do that, have like a fairly good-looking, guy or female saying, today, I don't feel like changing my shoes and I don't have to, whatever. And see how many people actually click leave your email, we will let you know when we launch, that kind of thing. And then, I don't know, spend a few thousand ringgit, Facebook, Google Ads, whatever it is, and see how many people actually, click and are interested. Then you get to extrapolate and you get an idea of if you really can reach 100,000 people, how many shoe sales can you get? Something like that. Actually, we are a bit running short of time. Do you guys? Okay, maybe. Oh yeah, maybe if you don't mind, you can sort of like sync up after. Hakim has got tons and tons of advice in this area. I don't know if we've got time for a last question. Do we, Han? Or maybe not, yeah? Okay, great. Anyway, we'll be around for quite some time yet. We probably need to clear this space, but if you want, you can always have a rendezvous downstairs or whatever. Make your dates. We can also make our Twitter handles and whatever available to you. If you'd like to ask us more questions, we're very happy to help. Before I kind of finish this, thank you so much for the panel. I think you guys have given very interesting points of view for your own startups. And I'd like to also thank MindValley for this awesome space. They usually charge for it, but because we are startups and we have no money, they decided to sponsor it for us. Thank you so much as well to My Burger Lab, who sponsored the deviled eggs Wicket, are you here? Okay, Wicket has taken his double eggs and gone home, I think. But yeah, basically, those were actually sponsored by Wicket, and the other food from the kitchen table as well. They are in Damansara King, so do check them out. So just a call out to them. Thank you so much for sponsoring and supporting us. Han, what happens next? You or?
Okay, so I'm actually quite glad that this gentleman here offered to test his idea, and this is actually a very nice lead way for me to introduce the next program that we're going to run at MaGIC. It's called Stanford Go to Market. It's for those people who have an idea and we haven't launched yet. And so you mentioned a lot of touch points that the program will focus on, such as pricing strategies, who are the customers that you should cover, and what are the value propositions. So just a short intro, not that short, maybe 4 minutes. Introduction video of the Stanford Go to Market. For those of you who have not found out about the program yet, and do reach out to us if you would like to apply for the program. Okay?
MaGIC has signed a 3-year collaboration with Stanford University to run a couple of different programs. In November 2014, for our first program called the eStandford, about 15 Malaysian entrepreneurs were able to attend a 2-week immersion program in Silicon Valley. This year, in March 2015, we're really excited to fly in 3 world-renowned faculty members from the Stanford Graduate School of Business, GSB, right here to MaGIC at Cyberjaya for our second program called the Stanford Go to Market. This program is specifically designed for those of you who want to commercialize your idea, research, or IP. Upon completion of this 1-week program, you will learn about pricing strategies, how to create a sound business model, develop a go-to-market plan, as well as learn how to pitch potential partners and investors. So to learn more about the program, let's hear from the GSB faculty themselves.
Located in the heart of Silicon Valley, Stanford University is recognized as one of the world's leading research and teaching institutions. From its very beginning, innovation has been a core component of Stanford's DNA, and has helped Stanford become a catalyst for change. One question I often get is, what is the secret sauce of Silicon Valley, of Stanford, of the Stanford Graduate School of Business? And I say, the secret sauce lies in the fact that Silicon Valley, Stanford, is filled with what I call type 2 individuals, type 2 entrepreneurs. So what do I mean by that? Type 1 is a mindset where there's a fear of making a mistake, there's a fear of failure. Whereas a type 2 mindset, which is what prevails here in Silicon Valley and Stanford, is not a fear of failure, but a fear of missing out on opportunities. It is very, very important when it comes to entrepreneurship.
The entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes and have different stripes, but I think tenacity is really important. Also important is a willingness to learn and accept that perhaps the initial idea was not as good, and therefore when the feedback comes that I should change something, I'm willing to do that. A willingness to change in the presence of information or data is very important for entrepreneurs as well.
What we try to do in this course is to instill among the innovators a type 2 mindset. There's no fear of failure when they are thinking about various aspects of their business model. So that's what the course is about. How do you come up with effective business models for your own purpose? How do you, for example, go about crafting a superior value proposition? How do you go about determining your customer segments and determining which segments you're going to go after? So in other words, what is your segmentation strategy? What is your go-to-market strategy? How do you go to market? How do you kind of decide on who should be your strategic partners? Who are going to come in and help you scale? What is your monetization strategy? I mean, what is your revenue model? How are you going to price your offer? What is your IP strategy? In other words, how are you going to protect the IP that is associated with innovation? these are all people who are extremely well versed with the ecosystem that prevails out here. And the hope is that we will come out there and impart not only our knowledge about the ecosystem, but hopefully gear you up to deal with the ecosystem that prevails in the entrepreneurial space.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Before we end, actually, just a quick word by Cheryl, the CEO of MaGIC. I don't think she needs any introduction. Round of applause, everyone.
Thanks, Jasmine. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Cheryl.
Good evening. Happy to see you guys here even on a Monday, a rainy Monday night. Thank you to the panel. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, everyone here, for an excellent sharing session. Curious, how many of you attended the first sharing session at KL Central? So just a few, okay. So the first sharing session was also done in a similar fashion, but on a different topic, and it was very good. And basically, I kept up, I ended the session by just clarifying a few things of why we're doing this program, right? So, it happens to me too. So I think some people maybe misunderstand, oh, why are we sending Malaysian entrepreneurs to Stanford? Are we trying to copy Silicon Valley, right? And the answer is actually no. It's not about copying Silicon Valley, it's about really exposure, right? At MaGIC, one of our mandates is to build global entrepreneurs. So Malaysians, we feel, have the same talent and capabilities to build global companies. But the only way we can do that is if we are exposed to global markets, right? But if we have not ventured outside of Malaysia, we're not exposed to the regional, Southeast Asia or the US, we don't know how things are done outside. We cannot expect horizons and our mindset and the way we do things, and we're just stuck looking inward and doing things the way we know, because we don't know any other better way. But so one of our programs, one of our global programs, our GRP at MaGIC, which is Global Regional Program, is to send entrepreneurs to Silicon Valley for 2 weeks to get the essence of what makes Silicon Valley the best and most innovative ecosystem in the world, and take that essence back. And hopefully 50-ish entrepreneurs will then inculcate that new mindset, and it will spread to all of you, right? So that's what our wish is. And then through these sharing sessions, you can also hear how it's changed their mindset or business model or their strategy itself, right? So that's the lucky people who got to go. But for people who maybe have commitments here that cannot travel so far, apply for visa, then we have the second program, which is what Han showed just now, which is the Stanford Go-to-Market program. So this is where we send 4 Stanford faculty from the Graduate School of Business to MaGIC for 1 week in March, on March 15th to 20th. For a 1-week program where we will pay for your accommodation in Cyberjaya, and you will attend classes from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. It's a jam-packed crash course in a lot of these skills that they, I think it's a little bit different from what they experience. So this program, we're targeting at people who perhaps are like Ali's stage, where it's an idea and you're starting out with a prototype and you're trying to figure out all the questions, right? The pricing model, whether or not people will adopt your product and all that. So I think this is the perfect stage for where you are. This is the perfect program for where you are. So if anyone else who has an idea who's like Ali's at that stage, I think I would highly to apply to this program, and it's of course fully paid for as well. And then we would run the second series of eStandford, probably at the second half of this year. It might not be in November, it might actually be moved up to around September. So look out for that as well on our website, mymagic.my. You can subscribe to our newsletter to get notification, or like our Facebook page. But the other essence is at MaGIC, we, as part of like trying to learn other ecosystems, I started my company in New York City, which was a financial hub, it was not a tech hub. And within 3 years, they transformed themselves to the second most vibrant tech hub in the US after Silicon Valley, right? And then after that, only I moved and sold my company to Walmart Labs in Silicon Valley. So I've seen different ecosystems. 3 years ago, Singapore flew me to mentor startups in Singapore through Founders Institute. So that was before anything, 4 years ago by now, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. And it was, even Singapore was so green, and there was really almost nothing in Malaysia at that time. So I've also seen how Singapore has built themselves in 3 years. But what's more interesting that MaGIC is trying to do is, in November, after we went for this eStandford program, a few of us actually traveled to Chile, to Santiago in Latin America, to study Startup Chile. And I don't know how many of you have heard of Startup Chile? Oh wow, not bad. So about like a third of the room, which is a government program actually where they fund entrepreneurs from around the world. They give them, I think, 35K USD free money and a 1-year visa to come to Chile to start a company. So they've run this program for 3 years, and after 3 years, they've completely changed the whole ecosystem in Chile. Right? So we're looking at Chile because in a lot of ways, in GDP and Chile in the sense of Latin America, is a lot like Malaysia in the sense of Southeast Asia, right? A small country of 30 million people in a big region of 600 million people. And how did Chile transform itself? Nobody would have thought of going to Chile to start a company, but now everybody, almost everybody in the Western hemisphere has heard of Startup Chile. They put themselves on the map because they lifted borders, they allow people to come in, right? And I have the same theory from it. We cannot keep to ourselves. The only way we can change the local entrepreneurs and the local mindset here to inculcate more sharing, more exchange of ideas, the revolution that jazz had, right, can only be achieved if you have brilliant people from around the world coming to one location and sharing ideas and building companies together, right? And so Startup Chile did it in 3 years. They've had over 2,000 startups go through their program in 3 years. So every accelerator batch, 100 companies, they run 3 batches every single year. So 300 companies go through Startup Chile every year. So we signed an MOU. MaGIC actually went to Chile, signed an MOU with Startup Chile, where they would share the framework for what works, what doesn't work in their country and in their program. And basically, MaGIC is launching the MaGIC Accelerator Program, MAP. So we're trying to put Malaysia on the map, right? So we're actually going to launch it in July, hopefully. We're working out the details now. We haven't really announced anything about it. But we have worked out a 1-year visa as well for foreign entrepreneurs to come to Malaysia. So it will probably be a 60% Malaysian, 40% ASEAN. Since Malaysia is the chairman of ASEAN this year, we are taking the advantage of opening doors to ASEAN and inviting ASEAN entrepreneurs to come to Malaysia. And if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense, right? For anyone to build a successful business, and if you're not targeting the US market or the European market, and you're targeting the Malaysian market, eventually you will have to go to the region and tackle the whole Southeast Asian market. But as Chusen can tell you, it's expensive to expand regionally, and it takes a lot of effort and time. It's not easy. Different language, different laws, everything is different, right? So if it's hard for you guys to go out there, then we are bringing entrepreneurs here. So we will seed you with the network and the connections from the region. So imagine being in a room with about 50 to 70 startups in our batch in July, and 40% of that will be from ASEAN. So when you are ready to expand to Indonesia, perhaps you have met a friend who's been through this 4-month accelerator program that you can then reach out to, and you know a friend in Indonesia, and he or she can connect you with their local ecosystem there, and so on and so forth with Vietnam and Thailand, Philippines and Brunei and so forth, Singapore, right? So yeah, basically to share that this is our plan this year, and this is why we're doing these sessions. And apart from the Stanford relationship, we're doing regional programs. So we're sending entrepreneurs to Startup Asia in Singapore, Echelon Singapore, Startup Asia Jakarta, Startup Asia Thailand, and all these places. So again, these GRP programs are all about exposing Malaysians to the regional and global ecosystem. I think that's it. And I think you guys have any questions? Any final questions? There's one question there. Okay. The question, good question. So for MAP, what stage of companies are we looking for? I think because this is the first time we're running this program, we'll probably be a bit lenient on that, and then we'll refine as we go. So probably all the way from if Ali has a good idea and he's done some market validation, he can apply. For someone who already have a prototype or a product out and they already have some customers and revenues, they can also apply. But probably companies that are younger than 2 years old to qualify as a startup. So probably not someone who's raised a Series A or seed funding. Maybe some friends and family money, or if you self-funded it, so that stage. No, so the question is, what is the split, I guess, right? As I mentioned just now, about 60 to 70% will be from Malaysians, and then 30 to 40% will be from ASEAN, from Southeast Asia, the 10 countries in ASEAN. So there will be a good balance.
Great.
All right, so yeah, we're out of time, but thank you very much and thank you for coming.
Hey, wait, before we leave, aren't you coming back again next week? I thought someone was going to say something about that. Aren't you coming back next week again? Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I don't even remember what date. Okay.
So that's the bit of hair there you see is actually Cheryl.
I'm here. Yeah, so I guess I've almost forgot about this. I'm coming back to Mind Valley to speak with Vishen. He will be interviewing me and picking my brains about, I guess, how I function and how do I make decisions and how do I come up with this big grand vision for MaGIC and whatnot.
Yeah, apparently Vision is really brutal, right? So be back here next week, guys. It'll be a very interesting and entertaining one. So if there are no other things, then I'll just close the session. Thank you very much for coming, everyone, and we hope to see you again. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks so much. We do have to vacate this place because after 9:30 they start charging. So what we'll do is we have your contact details, right? So if you want, we can actually